Hi, I'm Dr. Kim Logan-Nowlin.
And I'm Arthur Nowlin.
Welcome to Making It Work. Welcome back to Making It Work. Arthur, you know, in today's society, there are women who are longing to have a good, full life.
Mm-hmm.
I was one of those women. I still am.
Okay.
Well, on today's program, we want to talk about remembering Julian. And I want to welcome our special guest, Jamie Vaughn.
All right.
Jamie, welcome to Making It Work. How you doing?
Yes, definitely.
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much for being with us. Well, we want to talk about you and then tell our viewing audience about Julian. Let's talk about Jamie Vaughn. Tell us about who you are and a little bit about your childhood and your education.
Okay. I grew up in a nuclear family with my mother, my father, and my brother.
Okay.
And my brother and I weren't very close at first, but we're very close now.
Okay.
And I went through high school and I went to Eastern Michigan University and graduated with a bachelor's degree of science.
All right.
And currently I'm at University of the Rockies, earning my master's degree, which I'll be graduating in October with honors. And I plan to pursue my doctorate degree, but first I'm gonna go for my LPC, licensed professional counselor.
Yes.
And we'll see what happens from there.
I tell you, I'm meeting a lot of future LPCs, licensed professional counselors. Well, let's talk about your relationship with your mom. You have a good one with your mother?
Yes.
All right. What do you all do together?
We sometimes go out to eat. She likes to cook a lot, so she has a lot of barbecues, so I'm always over to her house.
Okay.
Right.
We sometimes play golf.
Okay. Uh-oh.
What did you say?
You are a golfer, Jamie?
I used to be, but she's trying to get me back into it.
She is. Did you like the game?
Yes and no.
Okay. But you also ride a motorcycle also.
Yes, I do.
You know, Jamie, and she has the what is that?
My helmet.
The helmet and everything. I mean,
Oh,
the
my
leather
goodness.
jacket, everything. Does your mom
Are you
ride a
in
helmet?
a motorcycle gang?
No.
Do they really say motorcycle gang or club?
Clubs.
Thank you so much.
Excuse
Clubs.
me, Kim.
Oh, okay. You know, does your mother ride?
No.
Okay. You said
She's
that.
terrified.
You know, I had an accident on a motorcycle once and it devastated me.
Did it mess
So-
up your head?
No, it did not. All right. You know, you got jokes today.
I'm just asking, you know, though, because
but it did mess me, my body.
motorcycle accidents usually can cause
Some
damage to your head.
injuries.
Yes.
But no, I was blessed. Okay. This is
It
what
didn't get you, though.
What you see is what you get. All right.
my goodness.
So we just thankful
You're
for that.
in recovery, though.
Am I in recovery?
Oh, yes.
You know, don't we just love Arthur?
Yeah.
But let's get back to Jamie. Jamie, remembering Julian, I want to talk about your life, okay? And some of the things that you've experienced. You grew up in a nuclear family where mother and father were married and your parents were divorced. How old were you when your parents got divorced?
13.
You were 13. What did that do to you?
I was very confused, but I was a pretty mature 13.
Yes.
You know, I still was able to see my father every Wednesdays and every other weekend.
Okay. So now, during this process, you were able to see him, spend time with him, and you always wanted to be with him, always wanted to be around him still?
Yes.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this. During the process, you met someone, okay? Yes. And you became sexually active.
Yes.
Okay. You are not married. What did that do to your relationship? Because something happened with your relationship with God, but something happened when you became sexually active. Tell us what happened.
I actually found out, well, my instincts told me that something was going on with my body, but I wasn't really paying attention.
Okay.
So one day I decided to wake up in the morning and decided to take a pregnancy test, and it said that I was pregnant. And I was in disbelief because I've always wanted a child. I've had maternal instincts since I was a child, since maybe about 7.
Why did you always want a child? Even being single?
Yes.
Okay, being a Christian? Okay, and they would call that being out of order because you weren't married.
Right.
I mean, we can be transparent here.
Yes.
So, all right, you always wanted to have a child. All right.
Yes. And so I was a little nervous at first, and I wasn't sure exactly what to do. So I called a friend of mine and told her, and I was really ecstatic, like, what do I do? And she said, well, you need to make a doctor's appointment. So I made an appointment with my obstetrician, and the next day I went in and saw her, and I was given another test, and she said, yes, you're pregnant right away. And I almost cried.
You almost cried. You were so happy.
Yes.
All right. Did you go and tell your family right away?
I went straight into work, and I had told my coworkers and my mother and my aunt, and their mouths hit the floor.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
What about the dad? You know.
I told him when I found out I was 5 weeks pregnant, very early on, and I told him, and he wasn't sure exactly what to do. And I told him, well, we weren't really in a relationship, and whatever you want to do is fine. I'm not going to force you to be around if you don't want to be around.
Okay.
So, and he wasn't that enthusiastic about the child?
No.
Okay. All right.
What was his decision?
To walk away.
Okay.
He walked away.
From the relationship and everything?
We were not in a relationship,
Okay.
to be honest.
And to walk away from the child. Okay, so you accepted that and you had to move on. Okay. Then what happened?
Then I went about my pregnancy. I had a very healthy, very normal one. I was just so happy. Every day I was like, wow, this can't be true. You know, there's a baby growing inside me. And when I went to my first ultrasound, it really kicked in because I was able to see a baby on the screen and heard the heartbeat and everything. And then when I went to my second ultrasound, that's when I found out that I was having a boy. And I was very, very happy because last year I experienced a very traumatic loss. I lost my father.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear
And I lost it, but some part of me said that you have to keep going on.
Yes, yes.
So, and this was when I found out about November that I was having a boy.
Okay.
And then I started doing the mommy things, you know, decorating the nursery and buying a crib and certain little clothes. I wanted to buy everything. I didn't even want to wait for a baby shower. So in December, I decided to pick the name Julian. My family just absolutely loved it. Well, before that, I decided to take a trip to Chicago where my family is to tell them, because I didn't want to tell them at first because I wanted to get through my first trimester to make sure everything was okay.
Yes.
And when I told them, they were just so overjoyed. It was amazing.
Okay.
And everything just went from there. Still, everything was normal. Went to
Yes.
every doctor's appointment. And I was eating healthy.
Okay.
And I was just enjoying life. I couldn't have been happier.
Okay. And then what happened?
And then February came around, went through the holidays with my family. And on the 5th was a normal day. I did a little bit of shopping and went to bed that night. And about 2 o'clock in the morning, I woke up with really bad pain. And I had been experiencing Braxton Hicks contractions. And that's what I thought it was, but nothing had woke me up out of my sleep before while I was pregnant. So that Sunday, I went about my day, did a little shopping, and I had them all day, not thinking if anything was wrong or that everything was fine.
Yes.
And then that Monday morning came around, which was the 6th, and I called my doctor and said, I haven't felt him move. And she said, I want you to come in right away. So I went in, and the whole time I'm praying, I'm just saying, you know, hope everything is just okay. And I went in, she took me right away. And she put a fetal monitor on me, listening for a heartbeat. And she couldn't exactly find one. But she said, I want you to walk around for a little bit, because I remembered at one of my ultrasounds, he liked to sleep on his stomach.
Okay.
And so in my mind, you know, he's just covering up his heart. You know, you can't really hear it. So she did it again, and she didn't hear anything. And she said, I want you to go to the hospital right now. And then I'm thinking like, oh, no, nothing's wrong. You know, this is just, we're just in the doctor's office. Something is wrong with the machine.
Yes.
So I called my mother and my aunt, who happened to be around the corner. I said, you need to get to the hospital right away, because they said something is wrong.
So what were you feeling right there, you know, right at that moment when you drove yourself to the hospital?
Yes, I did.
My.
I actually started going in the wrong direction. And then I was like, hospital's that way.
My goodness. Okay.
And I got there. I was just praying the whole time. I was talking. I said, you know, Lord, please say everything is okay. I said, Julian, will you just move a little bit? I said, Mommy's got it. Everything is okay. And I got to the hospital, went up to fetal imaging. They took me in right away. They strapped the belly band on me, trying to listen for a heartbeat. They couldn't find one. They brought in a screen and did another sound. And they said, do you see the triangle right there? I said, yes. They said, well, it's supposed to be red lights in it flashing to show his heartbeat. And they said, he does not have a heartbeat.
My Lord.
That must have been devastating.
It was. I was still like, no, the doctor needs to come in and say that. I was like, something wrong with the machine again. The doctor came in and said it, and I broke down.
You broke down and cried.
And my mother and my aunt had just walked in, and they asked me, do you want to tell them what happened? My face was covered, and I just shook my head no. And they told them, and my mother hit the floor. My aunt ran out of the room, and I was still crying. And they said, well, we need to get you to another room. And I wasn't thinking. I was like, no, this cannot be my first pregnancy, my first child. This can't be. And when they wheeled me to the next room, they came in and talked to me. I said, well, what are you going to have to do? And they're like, well, you're going to have to deliver him. And I was like, how? My mother asked, can I get a C-section? And they said, we only do C-sections unless it's an emergency. And she does not need one.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
And they said you did not need one.
Right.
So therefore they had to induce your labor.
Yes.
You had to go through the entire process.
Yes.
Knowing that your child was not living.
Right. And this was about 11 o'clock in the morning, and they said, well, we're going to keep you as comfortable as possible. You let us know when you're ready to start. I had family and a few friends come up to my room, and I was just sitting there like, I can't believe this is it. I didn't have a baby shower. I didn't do anything. I didn't prepare. I didn't have a bag packed. I didn't, I'm just here. And it wasn't until 6:30 that evening I said, okay, you can give me the pill to start inducing my labor. And 12 o'clock, I was in labor total for 10 hours.
10 hours?
Yes. And by 12 a.m. hit, I was in excruciating pain. And I was scared of an epidural, but they, I said I want one.
Yes.
And the doctor came in, and my eyes were closed because I was in such excruciating pain. And they said, your blood count showed that you're at risk for bleeding out, so we can't give you one.
Oh.
You couldn't get an epidural?
No. They gave me different pain medications because it wasn't going to affect Julian, but it wasn't strong enough. So basically, I had to do it natural.
I had to do it natural.
Yes, and I remember everything that was going through my head. I'm going through all this pain, and for what reason? He's not alive. And I heard my mother, she was there, and she was saying, you have to go through this. And then something said, you have to do it. And by 4:08 in the morning, I delivered him. And I remember asking before, what is he going to look like? What's going to happen? And they said, we're not exactly sure because we don't know how long he's been passed away. So after I delivered him, I didn't look.
You didn't look at Julian?
No. I was really afraid. I didn't want to see. And then after they took him away, I heard the doctors and my mother saying, he looks very well. He is a full-term baby, and he's beautiful.
Beautiful baby.
Yes. So they brought him over to me, and I was shaking, and they put him in my arms, and I just looked at him, and I kissed him.
It's all right. It's all right.
Yes. And I held him. I talked to him. I prayed. I felt bad. I blamed myself at first.
Why did you blame yourself, Jamie?
Thinking if there was something I could have done.
Yes.
But you did everything right.
Right. Something that my aunt had told me was that, look at him. Look how healthy that he is. What does that say about you?
When you felt the first Braxton Hicks or that night before, if you could do it all over again, would you have gone to the hospital?
Yes.
And the father never contacted you to see how you were feeling or didn't know what you had gone through?
No, still doesn't know.
He still doesn't know.
To this day, he doesn't know anything what has happened.
You had no contact with him?
None.
Okay. Thank God for your family, the support of your family.
Yes.
Thank God for God. So now, all right, they bring Julian over to you. You've had a stillbirth death. And let's talk about that just for a second. And that's when the placenta separates from the urinary wall. And you had abruption. And so let's look at now, they bring the baby over to you and you see Julian. Do you take him and hold him, or is mommy holding him?
I was holding him.
You were holding him?
Yes.
You asked to hold him?
Yes.
What was your first reaction when you saw him?
He's not crying.
He's not crying.
And then he was cute.
He was cute. Did it hit you that your baby was not living?
Not right away. Because he was sleeping.
He was just sleeping.
Well, in my mind, that's what he was doing. But I held him, and family came to visit me, and I looked at him from head to toe.
Yeah.
It was, 10 fingers, 10 toes, head full of hair. He was just beautiful. And the doctors came in and said, eventually we're going to have to move you to another room. And I said, okay. And I still just sat there, hadn't had any sleep. Everybody saying, you need to take a nap, you need to take a nap. And I said, I don't want to. I didn't want to miss 1 minute of looking at him. So eventually they gave me something. I went to sleep, but they tried to take him away to put him in the crib. And I said, no.
You wouldn't let them take him?
No.
How long did you keep him?
With me? When I moved to the next room, I had to be discharged at around 4 o'clock. So he stayed in my arms for 12 hours.
He stayed in your arms for literally 12 whole hours?
Yes.
And when you think about it, it's not a long time when you think that we as parents have our children for years and years and years. And as you held him, you constantly just looked at him. Just never took your eyes off him.
No.
And you never let anyone else hold him. Did anyone else hold him? Your mother?
Yes. My mother, my aunt, my brother and my grandmother drove in from Chicago, and they made it about 4 hours before I was discharged. And they held him, and other close friends of the family. They came and they saw him and supported me, and they held him.
So what made you make the decision that you would never contact the father to let him know what you had gone through?
Actually, he told me not to contact him.
Okay, when he said he'd rather walk away?
Right. I mean, it wasn't that easy because he was pretty verbally abusive.
Okay.
The day after I told him.
The day after.
Really?
He changed.
I see.
He changed.
So I was like, okay,
Wow.
and I won't contact you.
Okay.
Did he have more children, or was...
He actually, when I told him, what surprised me was that he had found out that his ex-girlfriend was pregnant also. She was a month before me.
Now, you have him 12 hours, and soon they have to take him. What happened when they came to take him? What happened?
I told them, no, I'm not ready to leave yet. And I talked to my doctor on the phone, and she said, well, when she's ready to leave, she can leave.
That's wonderful.
That's what your doctor said?
Yes, this was probably about 1 or 2 o'clock. So then I guess 4 o'clock came around. I was like, okay, one of these days I'm going to have to leave this hospital.
Yes.
So, yes, we were, I was in the second room.
Yes.
And I had got dressed, and my mother and my grandmother and my family was there. And I asked everybody to step out of the room. And I just had another private moment with him.
Just you and Julian?
Yes, I prayed. I kissed him. I told him I loved him. I said I'm sorry. And
why did you say you were sorry? Why were you sorry?
That I couldn't take him with me.
You wanted to take your baby home.
I was supposed to.
And you had this beautiful nursery, all these toys, everything in place to take your baby home.
Yes.
But you had to leave that hospital without your baby.
Yes.
Let me ask, what's in the chest, the case that you have?
I was given this. I had a repast for Julian 2 days after. And one of my mother's friends gave me this. It came with a journal that I've been writing every couple days to Julian. Things that's going on in the day, things I wanted to tell him. And I've been writing in it ever since that day. And I was also given a book from the hospital, which has helped me so much. It's called Empty Cradle, Broken Heart. And it talked things that I was not able to say. This book says it. And it's amazing. And I have the ultrasound picture.
Wow. That's the ultrasound of Julian. You know, how many weeks were you then?
It's probably about 5 months, about 20 weeks.
5 months.
Wow.
Wow. And look at the blue, the prints. That's beautiful.
And this is probably the most precious to me because this was the hat that he had on his head.
Wow.
That was the hat he had on.
Yes.
Did you dressed him in the hospital before they took him?
No, because I wasn't prepared. I didn't know everything was going to happen. So they had clothes that they put on him and blankets and a hat.
So in all actuality, you're still grieving.
Oh, yes.
How long has it been, since he passed?
5 months. February 7th.
Absolutely.
That's a very short time. When you talk about loss and grieving and healing, So what are some of the things you have done for yourself to help you through this process, as far as, your prayer life, spirituality, what are you doing for Jamie now?
I'm going to counseling. After I left the hospital, I went and stayed with my mom for the 6 weeks. I didn't leave the house or anything. I was really broken down. And she helped me find a counselor. And I've been seeing my counselor every week. And it's really, really helped me to realize and to admit to the fact that Julian has died.
Yes. Wow. I feel your loss. I feel your pain. Do you want to someday get married and have children? And
yes.
You want more? How many more children would you like to have?
4.
4?
Are you serious?
Yes.
4 children.
4 children.
Well, I guess that's, 4 children is not bad. Because I came from a family like that.
That's
that had
true.
4 children.
And so did I.
Yeah.
With you being in school and with your life, you and your mom, you own your own business. A lot of things going on in your life, Where does God play a role in your life now?
I pray every day, every single day, because I did not have to be here. After I delivered Julian, when I found out that there was a blood clot behind the placenta, which caused it to separate, and then with them telling me that I was at risk for bleeding out, so many things could have gone wrong that when I think back, like if I did go to the hospital right away that night, they could have put me on the table for emergency C-section and I could have died.
You could have died.
Exactly.
Oh.
And
so the Lord was really with you.
Yes.
Was with you. Did you ever blame God? Were you ever angry at God? Or did you ever feel that God was punishing you? Because that's not the kind of God we serve. But people do think that, to go through all of that. Aren't you angry at God?
No. No, I'm not, because he does things, but it's not in our position to question him because he always knows right. And this happened for a reason. I can't explain it, but Julian was born free from sin. And I can't be mad at that.
Oh, did you hear that?
Yes.
I just sent chills down my free from sin, to be free from sin,
How does this affect your desire to have relationships, and to, find someone that you could build your life with?
Who I decide to build my relationship with next, definitely I would love for them to have a desire for children, because children are a blessing. And somebody that respects me and loves me for who I am and also has goals to aspire to be something great in this world.
Is it important for them to be a Christian and know the Lord?
That too, of course.
That's a blessing. That's a blessing.
Excellent.
Well, I do know that this has been a heavy load. When I first heard your story, it brought tears to my eyes. And every time I hear it, and I'm always looking for things to add in the chest. Tell me, in our closing remarks, what has happened to Julian's room? Where is Julian's room now?
It's still the same.
Is it?
It's still the same.
Yes, it is.
Nothing has changed.
Nothing.
Do you see yourself changing it at some point?
Not right now.
Okay.
I mean, currently I'm working on my license to become a foster parent because I would like to adopt.
Okay.
So that will be a nursery, but I will change it for the next child that comes there because his theme, which was the moon and stars, is his.
And that was his thing.
Yes.
For Julian. How often do you go in Julian's room?
I went in there every day, but now maybe once a week.
Okay.
So there's some growth.
So what's making you handle it better, you know?
Coming to reality of what happened and that developing a case of OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, whether if it's going in the room every day, touching everything, which is what I was doing, is not going to help anything. It's not going to change anything. So I have to find a way to cope, which is I have to keep going to work, going to school, and pursuing my dreams.
And riding your motorcycle.
Safely.
Yeah,
Safely,
very
you know.
good.
I want to say to you, I am so proud of you.
Thank you.
I ask that God strengthen you and keep you, both of us, Arthur and I. And we want to thank you for coming on Making It Work, because truly you are making it work.
And your story is touching a lot of people.
It's going to change a lot of lives. And, you know, just in a closing remark, what can you say to someone who may be going through this? What can you say to
30
encourage?
seconds.
It's going to be hard. You're going to cry. I cried. I still do cry. But it's okay. God knows best. He would never do anything to make a person feel like I shouldn't be on this earth. Everybody's here for a reason. Everybody has a purpose.
Yes.
Things will be okay eventually. But it does take time, one day at a time.
One day at a time.
One day. That's
day
excellent.
at a time, you know?
Yes.
Are there any closing comments about remembering Julian?
Well, I'm just really pleased that we had the opportunity to share with you the experience that you've had. And like I said, I think you're going to really touch a lot of lives. So I just appreciate you being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it was our pleasure, Jamie Vaughn. To someone today who may be hurting, going through something, God is able. And as Jamie said, it takes time and one day at a time. And God will get you through. But don't give up hope, because God will give you a complete, full life in Jesus' name. I'm excited about what God's going to do for Jamie Vaughn, as I'm excited about what God's going to do for each of you viewing today. God is a wonderful source. Prayer, Bible study, being able to connect with people who believe in proactive change, like Jamie. Well, I'm Dr. Kim Logan-Nowlin.
And I'm Arthur Nowlin.
And thank you for being with us on Making It Work. God bless.
God bless.